certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. It's going to be a fun one today. We're going to be talking about top movies based on children's books, which, as we've all learned from research, it can be anything. It's like there's a lot out there. And also, just for clarification, I've said that they can bring up like books that may be typically in young adult because I consider them a subcategory of children's books, even though some people may not. But it depends. We don't know if they'll make the list yet. So, but before we do anything, I'm going to introduce my panel. Over here, we've got Jacob. Jacob, how's it going?
It's going. I'm using Wikipedia as a credible source today, so I hope that's okay with everyone.
Next up, you may not be able to see his face much, but he's here. Chris, how's it going?
Going good. Here to have fun. My children are and I YouTube Wikipedia and my first workshop. It had a bunch of children from my old days back there. I love movie based on children, but I never talked about that movie that I loved it here. They will here. We'll get around to them.
Next up, we've got Dylan. Dylan, how's it going?
It's going well. I consider myself a big child at heart, so this will be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I'm another one that like a lot of these movies that we'll probably be talking about. I actually read the books growing up, so it's like they do mean a lot to me. But before we start, as I always like doing, I like showing what the ranking the poll would have given our the previous topic. Last week we did top 12 Muppets, and based on the poll I put up on Facebook, everyone had Animal at number one, which sort of knocked out Kermit down a couple of pegs. Gonzo came in at number 2, which was a big surprise. And then Miss Piggy fell all the way to number 10, tied with Dr. Teeth and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. So our polls was very interesting, that's true. But I'm going to go over how the show works. We're going to go around in a panel and nominate a movie we think belongs on the top 12 list. And because we've only got 4 people today, the person nominating their vote won't factor into if it makes the list. It's going to come down to the other 3. And I'm going to go to Jacob first. Jacob, what movie are you going to bring up first?
The first movie I want to bring up is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think this movie is absolutely fantastic. That is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original, not the Tim Burton one, although I do like the Tim Burton one more than most people, I think. However, I am nominating the original because it's a classic. I think Gene Wilder was the perfect casting choice for Willy Wonka. The music is fantastic. The Chocolate Factory looks like somewhere I would love to go and just visit. I'm not sure about the Chocolate River, but everything else looks fantastic. I don't know if I'd eat anything just because of what happens to the kids, but you know, I'd want to walk through it. I'd love to just talk to Willy Wonka for a day. You know, sure, the boat ride scene might have been traumatizing as a child, but now it's okay. And, you know, it's just fantastic. I love the relationship between Charlie and his grandpa. I think it's a wonderful relationship, even though Grandpa Joe, as an adult, is kind of a dick. He's kind of a dick. But I still think the movie's fantastic. I've seen it countless times. So Willy Wonka will be my first nomination.
Chris, what do you say about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I love Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory. It's a definitely one, yes. It takes some liberty with the book and changed some aspect of it. I love this. I preferred it over the Johnny Depp version. I love Gene Wilder. I love everybody can. I got to meet the original Mike TV at a Comic Con convention. That was fun. Yeah, I love this film. Pure imagination, Candyman, the Prolific song. Love every moment of this film. And what happened to the man who got everything to live happily ever after? Love perfect ending to the movie. Loved it. Yeah.
Dylan, what do you say about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I think it's a great first pick. It definitely carries a lot of childhood nostalgia for me. It's not like my favorite of even Gene Wilder's films, but it is probably one of the most iconic. So yeah, it's definitely a big yes for me. And I am also, like Jacob, a fan of the remake. As much as it's not as good, I think it is very good. So
Yeah, and like I'm also a big fan of the original. This is one that I watched sort of. I wore out the VHS tape of this so many times. Now I've got it on DVD and they don't wear out as much. um, but uh, but yeah, it would have absolutely been a yes for me as well. But yeah, Chris, shock us. What is your first movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, another young fan, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's sequel to a movie that I love, also based on series of children, but Benjamin Paddington too. This is a film that I went to the movie not knowing anything. I did like the first one a lot, but I went in not expecting nothing but anything. I fell in love with it every single moment of it. Hugh Bonneville, Brendan Gleeson, and Will Funny for the movie. And then the giving of warmth and charm. It was probably even funnier print stuff than even any prison movie. There are a lot of funny bits in that movie. Brendan Gleeson introduction, one more funny poem in the movie. Big Man is just game killer. And when the end of the movie got a musical number for Foley, Stephen Sondheim musical thing, you get an A+ to my book. I can't wait for the third one. This is one of my favorite movie makeup children's book ever.
Dylan, what do you say about Paddington 2?
yeah, it would have been the first one I nominated as well. It is one of my favorite movies, probably my favorite movie of like the last 5 years. Like I love this movie. I like Chris like didn't really go in knowing what to expect, and then like I left the theater just completely shocked at how much I loved it. Great performances throughout, and the first one is very good, very sweet, but this one just takes it to a new level. It's one of my favorite Prison Break movies. It's got a really really great, awesome prison break scene. So many great colorful cast members, great costumes, design. It just feels like such a breath of fresh air. Even though it is an IP, it feels fresh and original and brand new, and it blew me away when I saw it. So it is an emphatic yes from me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the first Paddington more, but I like Paddington 2 as just as much though. So it was either whichever one came up, either it would have been yes for me. And Jacob, what would you have said about Paddington 2?
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Malcolm. I like both these movies. It's such a big surprise when I first saw them. They're just so much fun to watch. The character of Paddington is just so lovable. How can you just not love the bear? Um, I do like the first one just a little bit more, but the fact that Paddington is getting representation on the list, I think, is a good thing. So, if it was Paddington or Paddington 2, I would have said yes.
But Dylan, what is the first one you're going to bring up?
There's so many. I'm gonna go with one that's probably gonna be a popular pick. A very popular franchise. It's kind of a kids novel series, but like as it goes on, it gets a little darker. So I decided to go with the first one, and that is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, depending on where you live. But I'm going with this one because it feels like the most true to like the kid aspect, like childhood and like coming of age, because they do get progressively darker. But this is a great way to kick off the series. They really just captured every ounce of the beauty of the book. Just how they pulled off Hogwarts in general is just so beautiful. The kids that were cast in the roles, like they were surprisingly great actors at their age. Obviously, they would get better with time. I think there are better movies in the franchise, but this one feels the most true to the topic today. So I went with the first Harry Potter.
Yeah. So once again, I wouldn't suggest any of these. And because I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and this is definitely a good pick. And I think the first two are definitely sort of what people would think of straight away as a kids book because as it's these books as they kids age, they age with them, so it's definitely going to be one of these interesting to see where this goes. I'm going to yes, Jacob. What do you say about Philosopher's Stone?
Yeah, while I like the third one the best, I think the third one is my favorite. I think Harry Potter absolutely deserves to be on this list, and while it's not the specific movie I would have nominated, I think like Dylan said, it is a great starting point, I think, and to capture the kids aspect of it. So I will give the Philosopher's Stone a yes.
And with that, it does make the list. Chris, what would you have said?
I'm kind of thinking I would have personally picked it. Pretty active as my favorite Harry Potter movie. Dylan, I love the film just as much. I love almost every Harry Potter film. I do love Fantastic Beasts, but that's another discussion. But I love the film to death. Yeah, it's definitely yes for me.
For my first nomination, I'm going to hit you all with a drive-by fruiting. I'm going Mrs. Doubtfire. But this is in my opinion one of Robin Williams' best performances. And this movie based on the book Madame Doubtfire is just one of those ones that definitely hits you like in all areas. The relationship between Sally Field and Robin Williams is perfect in a way, but especially when we know as an audience that she's talking to her ex-husband, but she does. But just seeing how she deals with all this when she doesn't know all this is just a lot of fun. And yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire is a great movie. Jacob, what do you say about Mrs. Doubtfire?
Oh, this is tough because I do love Robin Williams' performance in this movie. I think it's one of his better performances. However, for my personal list, it's just outside that top 12. And so while it pains me to do this, it's like this much no, like the slightest no it could be. But that's not to say it's a bad movie. It's a wonderful movie. But there's just others that I want to see make the list.
Chris, what do you say about Mrs. Doubtfire?
I forgot this movie off a book. I love this film. I love this film. I really like the music of Dickie Not to Death Row, but it's just such a great movie. I can't my leg. I had to give a slight yes because I love Robin Williams. I had that ending only get to me, and after touching musical, it's just warmed my heart to watching movie. So yes,
Which means, Dylan, if it's up to you, does it make the list or not?
I really do like this film. I think the makeup design is really, really great. Like transforming Robin Williams is just so impressive. It's one that I saw a little later in life, but I think as a kid, like when we're thinking of movies that are based on children's books, it handles a very heavy topic, and that is divorce. And I was fortunate to not have to go through that as a kid, but I know other friends who had to go through, divorce, being a child of divorce as a kid. And this movie, I can see in their perspective how that can be so helpful for them. Something that is a children's movie, it's a comedy, it's very lighthearted, but it also is, about these heavy topics, about divorce and about, loneliness and trying to like fight for your kids and stuff. And I think that's pretty profound. So I'm going to give this a yes. I like this pick. Yep.
Yeah. And with that, Mrs. Doubtfire does make the list. Jacob, what is your next nomination?
I will go with another movie that I watched a lot in childhood, and for those of you that watch Tournament Fights over on Jordan Anderson's channel, it's my new favorite movie of all time, according to them, and that is the movie Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is just it's so wonderful. The music is fantastic. Julie Andrews is Mary Poppins. It's another, I think, perfect casting choice. Fun musical numbers. It's just so much fun to watch. Dick Van Dyke is amazing in his two roles. I still listen to the music to this day. In fact, the daycare I work at, I put on some of the songs sometimes, and they just love it. And they're like 3 years old. So, if that doesn't say children love this movie, also, I don't know. Mary Poppins, it's fantastic. It's a classic. I think it deserves to be on the list.
Chris, what do you say about Mary Poppins?
That would have been my next pick. I love this film. That's if I just want to come up. Yeah, I love Mary Poppins. I love the music. I love the character. Yeah, we could argue similar to Willy Wonka, the liberty it take with the source material itself a little bit. But I love Julie Andrews' performance in it. I do have a soft spot for the sequel, but I love David Room so much. My favorite scene, that movie, like silent with the music, is the scene of him, the father walking to the bank, and you got to feed the bird music playing background. I think one of the most powerful moments in any film that probably not many years later, showing my girlfriend this for the first time, I would find by the end of that thing. Especially with the fate of the bird lady, when you don't see her there anymore, it hit you powerful as an adult. I love this film, yes.
Dylan, what do you say about Mary Poppins?
Yeah, I enjoy Mary Poppins. I'm not one of like the super fans of it. But like it is so influential. It obviously captured so much of the book very well. It also put its a new spin on it. It's a great musical. The musical numbers are fantastic. I'm kind of in a similar situation to where Jacob was with Doubtfire, where like it's just outside my 12. So like there are other movies that I personally want to talk about, but I think I know where the group is going. So I'm gonna say no, but I do like this film a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Mary Poppins is making this list. I do love this this movie. But I mean, it's just one of those ones like, especially if you like. I grew up with this as a child, so like this is one that sort of stuck for me. There, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was tossing up between this one or Returns because I do like Returns just as much. So yeah. But moving on, we got Chris. Chris, what's the next one you're going to bring up?
So we have a bunch of live action. So I don't go animated one. I'm not going to go with one paper. I don't go with one of my personal favorites, especially for DreamWorks. And I don't go with the sequel rather than the original. I don't even have to Train Dragon 2 because these are based off the series of books. I love the first one, but the second one hit me more on the level I think the first one does it, especially with the modern and some relationship, and then take a follow me, it's more than one of the emotional things, especially when they start to sing the wedding song, and then when you can father start dying, take emotionally, especially by two split. I think it takes mature step in the same time like it back to see it going. And it had a beautiful message, especially, mom talks about two split saying, that, don't blame him, it would not, he would not and control himself. And it's that one of the moments that they got to, that was seeing so much, I love the development, and just like doing good in defense. I love the series in the one. That can always be my personal favorite stuff because with the story, with the character, introduce the Kate Blanchett character into the film. I love her character. Yeah. I mean, between that and one other thing like that, I had to go with my personal favorite theory.
Dylan, what do you say about How to Train the Dragon 2?
Yeah, I see. I when I look at that trilogy, I love the first one and like the third one. Like surprisingly, not many people loved as much, but I really adored it. The second one, honestly, is my least favorite of the three. But the trilogy as a whole is so good, and I feel like I don't want to say no to this film because I don't know if the other two are going to come up. And I want to honor this series because I think this is a very strong series. It's toying with another DreamWorks quadrilogy that like I really really love. That is also based on a kid's book, but I think this one is just so good-hearted. This whole trilogy. So for the trilogy, I will say yes to this film. So yes, it is a yes for me.
Yeah, I'm of similar minds. I like 1 and 3 more. 2 is my least favorite as well. Um, I'm actually going to go no though because it's yeah I've got a lot more that I want to get on here personally. So Jacob, it's all on you. Does How to Train Your Dragon 2 make this list?
Unfortunately, it's not. I'm a fan of the franchise. I think it's a good trilogy. I think it starts off really strong with the first one and ends almost perfectly with the third one. I think I'm in the same boat you guys are. The second one is probably my least favorite of the series, but I'm just not as high on the trilogy as a whole as most people. So um, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, that one is round there. We're back and forth between the first and second with tough. Like, which one I like.
Dylan, what is your next nomination?
There's still so many good ones. I'm gonna go with one that I actually read the book first as a kid, and then it came out when I was 13 years old in the theaters. And this is a book that like it was kind of like a children's book, but it was a picture book. It was huge, and like every book was just a picture. There was no like writing. It was just completely illustrated. And then they announced they were gonna make this movie, and that Scorsese was gonna direct it. And I was confused at first, and I was like, "What? What is this gonna be?" And then I saw it. It won a lot of Oscars. I'm gonna go with Hugo. I really, really enjoyed that book, but I was blown away by the movie. The visuals are obviously so good, but I loved how Martin Scorsese added like this extra element and depth to it, and made it almost like a film appreciation piece, showing some of the origins of film and silent film, and just how it evolved so much, and trying to like find the meaning behind life, but also show it through a young person's eyes. And I just really liked the film. It wasn't even my favorite of that year, but it is definitely one of the better book to screen adaptations, especially when the book is just kind of. It's a good book, but you know he elaborated it so much more on the screen. So I'm going to go with Hugo.
Um, yeah, so I was going to watch this morning, but then I thought, nah, it's not going to come up. So I'll pass on it for now. So, Jacob, what do you say about Hugo?
Well, not only is it going to come up, but I think it's going to make the list because this movie is fantastic. This is very high up on my list that I made. The performances are wonderful. I love Sacha Baron Cohen in this movie. I think he's really good. Ben Kingsley is wonderful. Chloe Grace Moretz. And then the main guy whose name always escapes me. I think it's Asa. I don't remember that's it. That's why I don't do movie trivia. But no, the performances are wonderful. I think the setting, the train station is wonderful. I didn't even know it was based on the book until after the fact. I just watched the movie because it looked really interesting. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic movie. Malcolm, you need to watch it. I think you will enjoy it.
Oh, I definitely plan on watching it at some stage. Chris, what do you say about Hugo?
I had this on my list, and I really nobody was doing stuff. I love this film. I saw it in theater and 3D, and I saw one of the best reading experience I had. Ben Kingsley gave an underrated performance in this. Like, my favorite line in here when he goes, "You want to know where movies get made? Here, this is where it gets made." When he county kids playing flashback, and that scene itself when they go into the bathroom, it's so emotionally heart wrenching. Like he does such a superb job at wrestling emotion, delivering, there's no such a happy ending at the end of the scene. Everybody being the butterfish is for him, especially now with that education. I love everyone that can. Happy somebody wants this stuff. This would be on my list of maybe to bring up that should get more love in the community. One of my, I think, top 5 favorite Scorsese films that not a lot of people think.
And with that, Hugo does make the list. We are halfway there already. And I'm going to leave the one I was going to bring up because I think it's going to come up later. I'm going to swing for the fences at one that, if you watch a movie of this, you would not think it's a kid's book. But I'm bringing up Big Fish. Because apparently, Big Fish is a great movie. This is one that I did not know was a kid's book, but it cartoons that it was, but it actually makes a lot of sense as well. And with Tim Burton doing this movie, it's another one that's like when I heard that he was directing a movie that's not going to be so wacky and crazy as his usual stuff, I thought it's not going to work. It works, but yeah, Big Fish is great. I've talked about it a lot on various shows. Jacob, what do you say about Big Fish?
I have seen this movie one time. I really enjoyed it. But right now, I'm just not that high on it as others. I do think Ewan McGregor is wonderful in the movie, but right now it's like just outside the top 12 for me. So I'm gonna give it a slight no.
Chris, what do you say about Big Fish?
Yeah, like that day be all on you. I love Big Fish. Like when I looked at the last second, I've mentioned this offhand, speaking of like because it's stuff we watched it recently with my girlfriend because on TV. I love this film, especially today with my relationship with my dad. Remind me of a lot of relationship between Albert Finney and Evan. Film. The ending gets to me emotionally, especially like when he Albert Finney say before like this is during my life and he's just going through the story of how he was in the hospital and how he would end up, you know, how life would end. Like, you know, another story attached to the pond scene is beautiful. Like seeing everybody there, you know, everybody finally telling this story, it mostly heartwarming and emotional. Rewatching it in my girlfriend's living room, I was crying. Like, and like, baby, everything is phenomenal. I think he should have got nomination. I think he did not, but this is definitely an Oscar-worthy performance for him. Everybody goes so supportive. That's my favorite Tim Burton movie in recent years. Like, I own it on DVD. Like, I love this film. I'll get from it.
So Dylan, what do you say about Big Fish?
See, I like Jacob. I've only seen it once, and I really liked it when I saw it. But I think for the purpose of this list and having so many movies on here that like I've watched so many times as a kid and as an adult and have just really grown to love, this is one of those movies that I want to grow with as I go on. But right now, I don't think it's enough to give it a yes for me. But it's a good pick, but I'm gonna have to say no.
And unfortunately, Big Fish doesn't make the list. We move over to Jacob.
Yeah, leave me mention it so people want it, they would check it out.
I am going to bring up one that you know the source material has produced a lot of films, but I think the best one of those is The Wizard of Oz. I think The Wizard of Oz. It's another classic. I hate to only bring up musicals because you know I brought up Willy Wonka and Mary Poppins, but apparently I'm just in the musical mood tonight. But I think the way it starts out black and white and then goes to color, I think that transition is really good. The music is so catchy. I love the music. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is probably like one of the best songs of all time. It can be adapted into any style too. But you know, I love going on this adventure with Dorothy and the Tin Man, the Lion, and the Scarecrow. I think I just want to follow the yellow brick road with them and get to Oz. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a classic and deserves to be on this list as well.
Chris, what do you say about The Wizard of Oz?
I like the Wizard of Oz a lot. I know I've been on record many times before, similar to a bunch of people out of lead. I prefer Wicked over it. But I love the Wizard of Oz to death. I do have problem with it when you realize looking at back characters later on about some of the motivation. Yeah. But I love this film music by Judy Garland thing. It's like some of the history behind it really made me piss off about how she was treated back then. But yeah, this is a slight yes for me. I don't love Wizard of Oz as much as other films on that list, but I do like it a lot, and I think we'd be crucified by the community if we don't have this on.
Dylan, what do you say about The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, it's a classic. I love it. And it holds up. Like I still can't believe people watch it as much as they do decades and decades later. Like it'll be going on 100 years in like less than 20 years, which is just crazy. And I have such a fondness for this, so it's an absolute yes for me.
Yeah, The Wizard of Oz would have been an absolute yes for me as well. And this is one that I actually don't know if we would be crucified if it didn't make the list in the end, because there's a big debate out there about which is the better version of a Wizard of Oz book. So I know that Amuru has said that he's on record saying that he prefers the Riz over the Wizard of Oz. So
I mean,
and
the best
so
version is Tom and Jerry, but it's.
I mean, that version one is a very finally gay made wicked, but that's the problem.
I mean, I don't think Ricket's an adaptation of Wizard of Oz. It feels like it's it's a prequel, not really. But anyway, this is not a debate on Ricket. Chris, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I'm going to go a little bit lightly into the children of our flat young adult here. I'm going to go with it's one of the most recent one on my list, but once I feel like it's also based on a children, but I love this film. I think this is my favorite adaptation book. It's wonderfully directed by Greta Gerwig. Doing with Little Women 2019. I think that is kind of like young adult or children book, but this is a great coming age film. Such a phenomenal film that you'll watch. One period takes a character that you hate in the book with Amy and make her so multi-dimensional in the film that you end up being sympathizing with her and waiting for her to get to the Lori. She's totally great or done phenomenal. I'm not going to go on with everybody in the cast, but it does so much. And I like the change they make at the end with Joe being more independent. That you can get both her ending up with the professor, her being independent. That both sides of the happy ending that she end up being herself rather than becoming who she is as a Christian. And I like that she makes at the end. It's different for the book, but I think one of the brilliant changes they made from the movie. And that Government is a phenomenal director. I can't speak to what she does there. It's a great introduction for you to a lot of people. She did the same with Lamar or Fighting with My Family. And that sounds like great. I can't go on and on. I had to bring up something that close to children about the underdog on this list. This should be it.
So Dylan, what do you say about Little Women 2019?
Yeah, I really, really, really like this film. It's like another thing where I'm struggling with it's right outside that top 12 only because like it is so new and like I haven't had the time to really like grow with it and like revisit it a bunch. But I really think it's a real masterclass of just filmmaking and making something like a period piece so accessible and relatable and feeling fresh and new despite still also feeling like a period piece. Greta Gerwig is one of the most exciting, like new up and coming directors. I think she's already established, but like she's only going to get better from here. And I think this is a really great sophomore effort after Lady Bird. So I really like this film, but I'm going to give it a slight no, only because I have so many other movies I love more that I've had more time with. But like, it is still a really, really great film, and I'm glad Chris brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I love Little Women 2019. It's great. I'm actually going to give it a slight yes. Because this is one of those ones because I'm tossing up between it for the same reason. Like, it's really recent, but it's good. It's the better version of Little Women, in my opinion. Sorry, Stephen, but it.
I like the 1995.
But that does mean Jacob. What do you say about Little Women 2019?
I think the movie's fine. It's not one that I'm rushing back to rewatch anytime soon. The performances were good. I thought it was a good period piece, but it's not. Yeah, like I said, it's not one that I'm rushing back to rewatch, and not one that sticks with me, and not one that I remember. Oh, that was really good. Like I remember this part of the movie, and this. Like it doesn't do that for me. So I'm gonna give it a no.
And with that, Little Women doesn't make this list. Dylan, what is on your next nomination?
So it's very rare that a children's book will be adapted to a horror film. Obviously, there are moments of Willy Wonka, there are moments of Wizard of Oz, but this is probably the closest to a horror film I could find. It is a beautifully animated film. It is Coraline. The book was as creepy as the movie. But the movie is even creepier when seen on the big screen with the button eyes and just the little cat that walks around. Like it's spooky. It's not a horror film, but it's like it's got those creepy like Halloween-esque moments throughout. I watch it every October if I can. It just fits that spooky season well, and I wanted to represent something that's a little darker, a little spookier, but also still a kid's book adaptation. And great voice cast. Dakota Fanning is great. It's been a while since we've talked about her, and now it seems like she's appearing in a few more movies, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and stuff like that. But she was really really great as a lead in this, and it's one I like to revisit all the time. So Coraline is my next nomination.
Yeah, that's actually not really. I thought you were going when you were talking about a kids horror thing. Does it maybe remember something else I didn't put on my list that I'm probably going to bring up next? But yeah, I haven't got around. I haven't got around seeing Coraline. Once again, this is just what I just couldn't find. Jacob, what do you say about Coraline?
Coraline was my number 13. But the more I think about it, like since I've made the list, like I love this movie. I just rewatched it not too long ago, actually. Other Mother is terrifying, and to get scares from a children's movie, like an animated movie. I don't know if it's a kids movie, but from an animated movie, like I think they executed it so well. Great voice cast, like Dylan said. Man, you know what? I'll give it a yes.
Chris, what do you say about Coraline?
So we have how many spots we have left?
5.
I mean, we need some animated
I
representation.
know, but did we for the animated movie ever put about that one that really was based off the book that I like? Well, I like Coraline a lot. I love it with Car Studio, but I do have to give slight note because like there are a bunch of animated one I really want to get on this, like the one that the underrepresented I really like was based off the book. You heard my reaction to look at the list. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry, Coraline, I love it, but it was not my favorite Car Studio film at all.
Unfortunately, Coraline doesn't make this list. Once again, there's one I had in mind to bring up, but that's probably going to come up later on its own. But I'm going to go swing for the fences for a different one. Growing up, I really loved the Brave Little Toaster animated movie. This is one. I mean, this may be a nostalgia pick for me, but I don't care. This is one that I would watch a lot of times as a kid. Like, just something about all these appliances traveling across the world, trying to find their master after we went to college. And I stand believe this is where Pixar got the idea to do Toy Story from. That they saw Brave Little Toaster think, what if these appliances were toys? But that being said, I think the Brave Little Toaster is great. I do not know where this is going to go, but Jacob, what do you say about the Brave Little Toaster?
I until just now did not know it was based off a book. I love the Brave Little Toaster. I think there's room for nostalgia on a list like this. And I think the Brave Little Toaster can be that nostalgia pick. So I will give it a yes. I love this movie. It's wonderful. It brings me back to my childhood. And sometimes as an adult, you just need to take a trip back to your childhood every once in a while.
Chris, what do you say about the Brave Little Toaster?
I really like the Brave Little Toaster a lot. I haven't seen it in years. That's the problem. Like I remember seeing it here and there, but I don't have the nostalgia for it like if for some other animated one. And if I had seen it again recently, probably would have seen it, but at the moment, no, because it's been a long time since I've seen it like in DVD and video a bunch as a kid.
Dylan, what do you say about the Brave Little Toaster?
I think I've seen this movie, but it's been so long that like I couldn't give you any opinion on it. So unfortunately, it's a no from me. But I want to go revisit it now because I forgot about it.
But Jacob, we move back onto you.
Okay, so I'm not sure how this is gonna go. I think more people would say the actual movie is based off the book more, but I'm gonna go with Finding Neverland. Um, I think Finding Neverland is just absolutely wonderful. I think Johnny Depp gives one of his best performances ever. Like this is a top 5 movie of mine personally. I think it's wonderful. The interaction between Johnny Depp and the kids is just wonderful. Just like I think it's great just showing kids like just let your imagination go and just play, be creative, have fun. Um, and the emotion is there with the kid's mother at towards the end of the movie. It's one of the few movies that I can rewatch and still get emotional and like nearly tear up. Like I did the first time, but now like I can prepare myself for it because I know what's happening. But the emotion is still there. I think the writing is fantastic. I think the direction is fantastic. Dustin Hoffman gives a great supporting performance. Um, just an overall wonderful movie. Um, and yeah, so I'll go Finding Neverland.
Chris, what do you say about Finding Neverland?
It's a tough because it falls into the same type of category and have the same epic debate because more about the person who will, play technically Peter but or at least to the book and such. It's a same debate to have. And I think about that. I am trying to think that though. I really do love the 2003 Peter Pan movie a lot. I think that and I like Hook a lot too. I think leave it to Dylan and Malcolm here. I'm struggling because I'm not sure whether I can consider it based on the children, but because about Doctor Still more than.
Dylan, what do you say about Finding Neverland?
I've never seen it. It's another blind spot of mine. I will now because it seems like such a great recommendation from Jacob. I love hearing that when like it's like a top 5 movie of all time and it happens to fit this category. So I'll definitely be checking it out sooner rather than later. But it's a no for me.
Look, I like Finding Neverland. I'm just gonna say no because this is one that I can't call it an adaptation of Peter Pan. Realistically, it's a biopic about J.M. Barrie. But I mean, it's a good movie. With that, we move over to Chris.
So I kind of hinted at this. I don't really like this if we're based off of looking at Wikipedia. It is only to me one of my favorite animated movies for one, but it's based on not to be confused with Iron Man. It's called The Iron Man. It's the Iron Giant. This is the film that I have a lot of appreciation for. I think animation beautiful. I think one of these few times I like Vin Diesel as an actor in the movie. I think his voice is really good with Iron Giant itself. They have emotional ending to it with Iron Giant fly out to the sky, the sacrifice. So I think the whole cast, police actually phenomenal. A great comedy animated film that has heart and has humor. It gets you emotional at the end. I think Iron Giant one of the best animated characters there is. Superman. I'm like, yeah, Iron Giant did really good based on shit, but if you ever look at what the movie should be up when a lot might was shut down recently.
Dylan, what do you say about the Iron Giant?
I don't have the same nostalgia for this as everyone else. I saw this like probably a few years ago for the first time, and I've only seen it once since. But it is a very, very good movie. It's a very emotional one. I really connected to it. I would give it a slight yes. Yeah, like I liked it enough on that first impression to give it a yes.
Yeah. I also drained the same nostalgia for it. I saw it for the first time a few years ago as well. But this is one that I'm actually going to give a slight no to for that reason because I do think it's a good movie and clearly it's still in people's minds. Even if Spielberg wants to use the Iron Giant in Ready Player One, it's really low down on my personal list. Jacob, you're the decider here. What do you say about the Iron Giant?
This is another one that was just outside my top 12. I do love this movie. I think the relationship between the kid, whose name escapes me right now. Yeah, that's it. And the Iron Giant is wonderful. Again, like it's I got the nostalgia for it, but not like it's not like that high. I'll go back to it every once in a while, but as wonderful of a movie as it is, I'm going to give it a very slight no.
After that, the Iron Giant does not make this list, and we move over to
I
villain.
have a bunch of movies on my list. Like, I made a bunch of lists up now because everybody keeps saying no.
My next nominee is gonna be. I wanted to fit one Disney animated movie on here since so many of them are based on like fairy tales and stuff. But I went with one that is like literally based on like a children's book, a more recent children's book than like some of the old fairy tales, and it really does epitomize the feeling of a book. It's sectioned off into chapters. It opens with like that storybook opening. It is the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This was one of my favorite movies growing up. Just so charming, so heartwarming. I could have gone with one of the princess movies because like those are the fairy tales and stuff, but this one just feels and breathes like a book on screen, which I really like. I love the theme song. It's so simple but so sweet, so good-hearted, good-natured, kind of like Paddington. He's the Paddington of that generation, just like Paddington is the Pooh of this generation. So I really enjoy that movie, and I know it's probably not the most popular Disney animated pick, but I'm gonna go with that.
Down, touch the ground. There is a wonderful thing about Winnie the Pooh, and that is the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is a really great movie. This is another one that I watched a lot growing up. It is the better movie that's based on a bear. I'm sorry, Paddington. Paddington is great, but I prefer Winnie the Pooh over Paddington. But this is a easy yes for me. Jacob, what do you say about the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh?
I was late to the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Like I watched it as an adult for some reason, even though I don't have kids. I just turned it on one night. It was fine. I think because I watched it so late, it just didn't. It just wasn't for me as much as if I had watched it as a kid and like those feelings of nostalgia came back. Like this was with some other Disney movies. So I'm gonna give it a no, but I understand why people love it. The character is iconic for a reason. Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, all of them. But I understand the love, but it's gonna be a no for me.
I think I know where this is going to go. Chris, what do you say about Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh?
Listen, I love Pooh. I do. It's not my favorite Pooh movie. I can't really count that video because like I'm the video more. I'm more Church of the Christopher Robin fan than I am when you Pooh have become my relationship with my mom because we watched that a lot when I was growing up. But it's not the best pick for Disney to put on this list. We had mentioned earlier, I had to get, but I had to say no because it is not what Disney I would put over this in a heartbeat. If I had done another Disney one, and I hope nobody
will. So Winnie the Pooh does not make this list.
You have to say yes to something eventually.
Sorry, Pooh. Oh, bother.
If we had mentioned the rest of it, I might have a Christopher Walken. No, just Christopher Walken, but...
Alright, it's on me. And apparently it's really hard to get an animated movie based on a kid's book on this list. So let's try for a live-action animation hybrid, see what happens. I'm going for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, based on the book Who Censored Roger Rabbit. And this is a really fun movie. And like, I don't know if in the original book you actually had Disney characters and Bugs Bunny and they actually appear in the book, but as a nice touch to include him in this movie, and this is just one of those movies that's a lot of fun, and just Bob Hoskins playing Eddie Valiant is great. Christopher Lloyd is Judge Doom. It's just a lot of fun. This is another one I think I've talked about a lot on various rankings before. But Jacob, what do you say about Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
1,000% yes. This movie is wonderful. This is just a lot of fun. Probably the best live action animation hybrid that we have. Performances are great. Everything you said, I'm just going to echo it. So yes, 100% yes.
Chris, what do you say about Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
And I had a double check to make sure this was actually turned into the book because when I read the description of the book, it sounded like more dope thing book that's based on a bunch of what's going on. I love the movie itself. I think I plan to show this to my girlfriend one day because she never seen it before. I love the movie every moment of it. I love Eddie Valiant. I love Roger Rabbit. I love Amy Herman. I love Judge Tim. It's the most scariest image as a kid growing up. And cartoon and that voice. Like, I don't even know more traumatic things watching a kid movie. I love every moment of this movie. It's the only time you see Disney and Warner Brothers interacting together, and it's perfect. God, I love this movie. Yes. Like, trying to figure out number one that's Debbie Harden now.
Dylan, what do you say about Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, I really enjoy this film. I enjoy it more for its like technical aspects than I do its story aspects. That being said, I still find it very funny, very enjoyable, and just the technical stuff itself, how they pulled off some of the scenes, like the sink where the water is splashing back up at him, like it's just so impressive. And the behind the scenes stuff is almost more exciting to watch than the movie itself. But it really is such an important piece of art that I think it really just changed the game for so many different aspects of filmmaking. So yeah, I would have said yes as well.
And Who Framed Roger Rabbit does make this list. We move over to Jacob.
All right, and to answer one of the questions, has any of the Harry Potter movies been brought up? Yes, the Philosopher's Stone has made the list. I believe that's Steven that asked. But the next movie, I'll go for it. I think the novel was a young adult novel. So we'll see where this goes. I'm going to go with The Princess Bride. Princess Bride, I think this movie it has everything. Like, I don't want to say it's a perfect movie, but it's really close. The performances are all great. The action, the dialogue, everything about this movie is just wonderful. It moves up my list every time I rewatch it. I think it's just wonderful. It's based off a novel that's being read in the movie, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, I don't want to say it's a perfect movie, but it's darn close.
Chris, what do you say about The Princess Bride?
I will go up to the six-finger man and say, "Hello, my name is Royal Monk. Yeah, you kill my father never said." Yes, I love this film. I keep forgetting based on children about this, but I love The Princess Bride. Speaking of which, I also had it on the other day when I had my girlfriend house. I love everyone in this film. Manny Patinkin, Harry Alway, Marvin White, everybody in this cast. It's perfect. It's one of the most funny movies, and it should never be remade. Like, this is a perfect movie. And I love every minute of it. Yes. Okay, I have to bring up animated film. Yeah, yes.
Dylan, what do you say about The Princess Bride?
I'm in a very, very, very small minority that just doesn't love this movie for some reason. I don't know.
No,
I think it
not.
might be because, yeah, you can take me out for the swim.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's something I myself don't understand. I don't know why I don't love it as much. I've every time I've tried to watch it and enjoy it, I just haven't enjoyed it at the level of everyone else. I still enjoy it, but not to the excessive level. But I appreciate everyone else's love for it. I think I know where this is gonna go, but I'm gonna say no personally. But like, it makes total sense if it's on the list because it is such a revered classic amongst so many people, and I will keep trying. I will keep revisiting it until I like it. I promise. But for now, for me, it's no.
I'm actually in that same boat. I'm not as high on the Princess Bride as everyone else is, but I made a promise to Garth that I would say yes to this for him because he would have been here himself. So so it's going to make the list for Garth. So Princess Bride does make this list. But with that, we move over to Chris.
I didn't leave up to you guys. Would you rather hear me pick a Disney animated, animated, or a coming age movie? Like you're trying to
Go with your heart.
None of the above.
You know what? Let's get the animated one out of the way. I'm also wondering about doing go with one of my favorite Disney movies. That based on a fairy tale. I love it. So just bring it back to so many fiction tales. Beauty and the Beast. Like if you think have to be a great Disney animated film that based on fairy tale, that is full of classic characters you have to look through Belle, Beast, Comfort. Let me to go through the whole cast of characters. Music that you had just on Beauty and the Beast, Belle, like I guess like it into your heart every time we watch the animated movie. I fall in love with it more and more. The animation is beautiful. I think that's easily like top tier Disney movie based on a fairy tale. Like there's a couple I also love, but I think some of them won't be good. But I love this film. Beauty and the Beast. Like we had to be on one distributed one to be on.
Alright, Beauty and the Beast is on the table. Dylan, what do you say?
I love this film. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. The only hesitancy I have is that I don't know how dark these original stories really are, if they are really technically children's books, but like fairy tale, like it makes sense for this list. I do love this movie so much. I did not like the remake as much, but we're not talking about that. I love it, hands down, yes, for me.
But yeah, I mean, this is one that, yes, the fairy tales are really the original fairy tales for a lot of these Disney animation movies are dark. But ironically, even though they're dark, they still somehow count as kids still read them. I mean, I don't know anyone personally who's read the original ones, but I've read about the original Cinderella with cutting off feet just to make the shoes fit. But this is probably my favorite Disney animated movie. But unfortunately, when it comes to the movies based on kids' books, this is actually just outside of my top 12. So I'm going to say no. Jacob, what do you say about Beauty and the Beast?
Oh man. Well, first of all, since you brought him up, I do want to say, Garth, we're thinking about you. Stay strong, buddy. But Beauty and the Beast, I love this movie. This was one of the reasons I asked in the chat, are we including fairy tales as children's books? I just wanted that clarification because this is one of the ones I was going to bring up. Because I love Beauty and the Beast. I think it's fantastic. I think the music is wonderful. As an adult, I see flaws in it, but it's still so much fun. So it's a yes from me.
And we finally got a pure animated movie on this list.
Yeah, like that might be where I'll actually really different.
Oh, two spots
left.
That might be animated because we sadly cannot have every animated.
Dylan, we move over to you.
Because I don't know if this will cycle back around to me again, I'm gonna go with one that probably won't make it, but I want to throw it out and give my love to it. Myself and my roommates are three of the biggest defenders of this trilogy. Some people knock it down, and I get the criticisms, but as a huge Middle Earth fan, I love Lord of the Rings, and I wanted to go with the children's book of the prequel, which is The Hobbit, and I'm going with the first Hobbit, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. I know it's not the best to so many people, but it is my favorite of the trilogy. I think it, captures the fun, childlike spirit of that book. And with the different songs and stuff, I like how it's almost kind of like a pseudo musical. A lot of colorful characters. The dwarves are very funny. I really like Martin Freeman as Bilbo. I think they could have done less than just 3 movies. But I really still enjoy it. I love living in that world with those characters. I think Lord of the Rings I wouldn't consider children's book, but The Hobbit I definitely would. And I just think it's a really I think it's an underrated trilogy. I know I'm in the minority about it, but I wanted to give it some love because I do really like those movies, and I just love what Peter Jackson does with all those movies. Just living in that world and with that scenery and those characters. So I'm gonna go with The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
Um, but yeah, the Lord of the Rings definitely aren't kids' books. We did have this question in this chat earlier. If it will come up, yeah, Lord of the Rings are not kids' books; they are pure adult books. But The Hobbit has always been one that has been a kids' book. And it's because I think, if I remember rightly, this is one J.R.R. Tolkien wrote specifically for his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and yeah, I'm a defender of this trilogy as well. Like, I mean, while it may be a surprise to most people because I'm New Zealander and all that, but but
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey is fun. I think I know where this might go, but I'm not going to assume. I'm going to say yes. Jacob, what do you say about The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey?
I think it's the best of the trilogy, but I still think it's just a fine movie. I think I think coming after the Lord of the Rings kind of hurts it because you are going to compare it to the level that the Lord of the Rings hit, and it's a very high level that the Lord of the Rings hit. Yeah, I think it's fine, but I don't think it's top 12. So I'm gonna give it a no. But yeah, no, I mean I enjoy them. I don't think it's a bad movie. I'm not gonna say that at all. I think they're good movies, but just not top 12 for me personally.
Chris, what do you say about The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey?
So waiting for a moment that we're doing it yet. But I don't know what I mean. I think the Hobbit movie okay to bad at time. I think Battle of Fire Army is easily the worst of them, and I think Unexpected Journey is second. I prefer that to like the small of it, but we just like right the Gollum theme is great, and I think that easily the best part on Unexpected Journey, the Riddles theme. I have a problem mostly, especially with the visual effects in the film. I prefer practical over CGI. And the Goblin King scene is really distracting on me once that it really should never been in the film. Like, it's just like, and I did watch the film and Ian McKellen and Thomas did other best things about this movie. I think they really developed great character with all three of them. And all of them is great. I don't like this series as a whole, and we watch it for fans. It really does piss me off sometimes. It's something this is unique, making it a free film in general. Like, that's like CGI versus practical effects for the original trilogy.
I mean, there's a lot of worse movies you have to start defending than this, but anyway, and no, I'm not bringing up Artemis Fowl. But but I'm going to go a little. I'm actually going to go down my list past my initial 12 just because I thought some of these would have come up by now. But there's one author that has written a lot of children's books has not come up once on this list yet. So I'm going to bring up one of my favorite Roald Dahl books, Matilda. Look, this is a movie that I grew up watched growing up, and we've already got Mara Wilson on this list once. Let's try and get her on this list again. um, but look, Danny DeVito is great. And I'm pretty sure from Wally he directed this too. And like this is just one because I mean like, and I really love like Imelda Staunton playing Trunchbull. Beth Davids, who you probably would know from Army of Darkness, playing Miss Honey. But yeah, this movie is great. This is what I watched growing up. I'm curious to see where this is going to go, but I think we need to have a movie based on a Roald Dahl book on here somewhere. Jacob, what do you say? What do you say about Matilda?
Well, we do. We have Willy Wonka, but
Oh, what?
um,
Fail.
no, I mean he has written a lot of books that have made good movie adaptations. I rewatched this today. It was on TV, and I was like, "Oh, I'll rewatch this." I mean, this is the topic tonight. Why not? I didn't enjoy it as much. I kind of stopped watching it towards the end of the movie because this is one I remember really enjoying it. As a kid, but on rewatch, I was just like, oh, yeah, like they make great horrible parents. I was like, no, they're just horrible parents. Like there was nothing about the movie that I was enjoying. So I'm gonna give it a no.
Chris, what do you say about Matilda?
Oh, could I have a Roald Dahl movie on here? I would have said yes. I don't know what's wrong with me between this and the Roald Dahl movie. I love this movie. I'm one of those weird people. I actually do like the musical a little bit more, just because they add more stuff to it. Speaking more of what you do with Tone Burning in musical. I think leave it to Joe and I are struggling on this, but we already have one of Joel. And much as I love one of Joel, it's another film I love of him that well I would have brought up too. But I had to give a slight no. I'm kicking myself in debt because I love this movie. But
I mean, it's not going to make it on anyway. So you say you leave it on for Dylan, but it's already not going to make the list. Dylan, what would you have said about Matilda?
I would have given it a yes. I really, really like it. There are 3 movies that are still on my top 12 that have still not been brought up yet. This was one of them. So yeah, I would have given it a yes. But with 2 spots left, like it's okay if it doesn't make it because there's still 2 more movies I'd love to make it. But there's still so many great movies out there, and this is a good one too. But yeah, I would have said yes.
And one of Joel also made another.
Anyway, apart from me feeling like an idiot about forgetting about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but Jacob, what's the next movie going to bring up?
It's okay. That was an hour ago. It's okay to forget about it. I think I know where this is going to go, but I just love the movie so much. I'm going to go with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version. We're approaching the Christmas season, and this is always on rewatch. I think Jim Carrey just embodies the Grinch perfectly. The town of Whoville, I think, is just it looks great. I don't think it's thought of very fondly by. I mean, I think it's starting to get there. I think a lot of people like to rewatch it during the Christmas season. And since we're getting close to the Christmas season, I think a Christmas movie should definitely be on the list. So I'm going to go with How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Chris, what do you say of How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
This is I mean, all the not to see Hope offensive movie. This probably one of the least offensive parts of this movie. Like, I do like this film a lot. I think it's super quotable. I just quote it almost every day and laugh at rewatchable. He does it his spot. I do love to Dylan. I do love this film a lot, but it would have been brought up earlier and would have been say yes because I do love this film. This and Touching Her is the only Doctor Seuss movie I actually do like. I hate everything else that had been done to Doctor Seuss. I don't give a slight no, but if people say yes, I will be offended because I like this movie a lot.
Dylan, what do you say about How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 2000?
I actually prefer the animated short, but I do get like as a bigger movie, like this one makes more sense for like this list. I really enjoy this movie. Jim Carrey is my favorite actor. I love his comedy stuff and especially his dramatic stuff. But this is definitely more in the comedy realm. I just love his character here. how he just embodies this character, how he just kind of shows so many more tricks up his sleeve with this role, physically and just all the physical comedy. I think for his performance, I would give it a yes. It's not a movie I play all the time on Christmas. Like, it's not always in the rotation, but when it is, I enjoy it. I love the music from it, and his performance is so good. So I will say yes.
So we've got 1 no, 1 yes.
That is
Uh,
correct.
Yeah. This is actually pretty tough because this time I'm pretty sure we do not have a Dr. Seuss book on here.
We don't.
One or two choices that would be okay with.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes to Christmas movies, this is definitely one of my one of the better ones that came out in the 2000s. Better than Elf, that's for sure. But but unfortunately, I can't give this a yes. Look, as much as I love it, I actually have to go no. I mean, when it comes to the Grinch adaptations, I actually like the Benedict Cumberbatch one slightly a little bit more. But
That's the one I meant.
even that still would have been a no.
It would have been a no for me to go up to Benedict Cumberbatch.
But Chris, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
You know what? I'm going to. For the little bit too young adult, we don't really have a lot of young adult on here. Besides Harry Potter, I'm going to go with one that I tried to see the pen of it over. I know some people are not the fan of this directive right now because of the school movie that came out. But I love this film. I think it would be debut for this director. It's a perfectly walk around with Emma Watson, Morgan Lemon, and Ezra Miller. I think this is a great coming of age young adult book that also takes an interesting look at a kid dealing with depression and dealing traumatic that he tried to hide. I think the big thing about your heart, picture show something clever. It's all about revenge. It's funny, it's lighthearted. It has a really emotional last half that hit your heart, especially if you deal with mental health a lot. And I think the ending is beautiful. I think this is a great comedy movie that a lot of people should check out. I'm not going to judge it now because the Hanson, but he did it. I love this director, whatever. It's a one that was based on the book. But I love this film. If we had to get one young adult novel on the average, probably between this and another one that I love. That slightly understand had to be on Christmas Movie Walker.
Dylan, what do you say about Perks of Being a Wallflower?
This is one of my absolute favorite movies. I think looking at this list, I'm like, it doesn't fit at all with what's going on, because it is so much more mature. So when I think of the topic, based on kids books, I'm like, that one is a little bit of a stretch. But you did say young adult was allowed, and I think if we're judging the movie itself, I think it's a great movie. So I would give it a yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go slight no. I like Perks of Being a Wallflower. It is a good movie. It's just not one that's sort of in the top of mine. Jacob, what do you say about Perks of Being a Wallflower?
I'm also going to give it a slight no. I think the movie is really good. I think it's full of great performances. But just according to my list, there's just other movies I like more. But that's no slight on the movie. It's wonderful. I didn't realize this list was going to be so tough to make.
I do have a backup young adult movie if we come back.
But Dylan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
This was one I was alluding to earlier when we were talking about How to Train Your Dragon 2. It was the movie that I watched the most as a child. I actually have the VHS on me right now. It is Shrek. It was a childhood staple of mine. The box is so worn out because I played it so many times as a kid. The second one I think is better, but if we're looking at book to screen adaptations, this one is more of a faithful adaptation than the original, even though it's a very different breed than the book was. The book is very, very different. But it was just such a great take on the fairy tale story, and incorporating so many different fairy tale creatures in one. And I just think the romance is really special. It teaches a really good lesson about, like, not judging a book by its cover and learning to love what's inside. And I think the comedy is really good too. There's a lot of great adult comedy that grows on you as you get older. Like in the beginning when you see Mama Bear is in the cage, and then in the swamp scene you see Baby Bear and Papa Bear crying, and then at the end you see Mama Bear is the rug in Lord Farquaad's bedroom, and you put the dots together and you're like, oh crap, that's dark. That's really dark for a kids movie. And it's just like little details like that I love to like go back to as I get older. I'm glad it got around to me one more time, because I think it's underrated. I think some people don't take it as seriously, but it was a really, really good movie when it came out. It won the first ever Oscar for Best Animated feature over Monsters Inc., which is one of my other favorite animated movies. So yeah, Shrek. Shrek is love.
Yeah, I know there is a lot of debate out there about if Shrek 1 or 2, which one is the better movie. This is another one that before I looked at the Wikipedia list, this is probably one I would have said yes to, but it got pushed down a lot since then. So I'm going to give it a slight no. I like this movie. But yeah, Jacob, what do you say about Shrek?
I love Shrek. Great characters. I think the voice casting is perfect for this movie. I think it's extremely hilarious. It's an absolute yes from me.
Chris, it's on you. What do you say about Shrek?
We got 2 spots left. We want out of stuff to say yes to. I still have a bunch on my list. If we had to find one represented the series, we did only feature movie and Western, not that free. And the different person, but I love Shrek 1, I love Shrek 2, I like Shrek person groups a lot. I would say yes to Shrek, because I think if we had to have one that represents it should be Shrek. I love Shrek 2 a little bit more, and more quotable, and I like person group as a character, my favorite character in the series. I do love the first Shrek a lot. The musical is good about it, but for the musical is
Got one spot left.
You need a drum adult.
And it's on me. Nominate. I'm going to go for another one that I watched a lot growing up, and one that I really do like. It's about a pig. A pig that thinks it's a dog. I'm talking about Babe. I'm not talking about the other pig people thought I was going with, because Gordy is not based on a kid's book. But anyway, Babe is what I'm going with. Look, Babe is one of those movies. Is that it's either going to be one that is going to, for some kids, it's going to grow on you, or they're just not going to like it when they grow up. But Babe is definitely a great movie. I don't know where this is going to go, but Jacob, what do you say about Babe?
I love Babe. I think Babe is fantastic, but oh man, it was slightly lower on my list. I mean, it's risen now because several movies have been said no to, but it's still just outside that top 12 for me, so it's a slight no. But I do think it's fantastic. I think the performances are great, and I'm pretty sure it was nominated for Best Picture too. Like, it's a really good movie, but just a very slight no. But if it makes the list, I won't be upset.
Chris, what do you say about Babe?
We have we have so many kid film. I'm really trying to get maybe one teenage young adult here. I do give us I love Babe. Babe 2 nobody can ever talk about, but I love the first Babe a lot. I give us no, but earlier I said yeah, but we have so many talking animals, talking a bunch of things on here right now that I want to give love to young adult. I got a bunch on my list and nobody mentioned it.
Dylan, what do you say about Babe?
I've actually never seen Babe. I've seen the second one, which is weird. Like I've seen Babe Pig in the City, but not
I
Babe.
feel sorry for you.
Well, I was going through all of like Siskel and Ebert's number one movies of every year, and it was Siskel's number one movie of that year was Babe Pig in the City. So, so some critic, very esteemed critic, liked it, but I've never seen the first one, so I'll go back and revisit it. I do have to say though, it's funny that we put Shrek and Babe back to back because That'll Do Donkey, That'll Do is based on That'll Do Pig, That'll Do. So it's a great little full circle moment, but I've never seen it, so adding that to the list.
But yeah, I mean, Babe Pig in the City is really close. I was considering bringing that up instead of this one, but that being said, Jacob, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I think I know where this is going to go, but it's next on my list, so I'm just going to keep going down my list. It's James and the Giant Peach. I think James and the Giant Peach is a lot of fun. It's another live action, goes into animation back to live action, and I think it's done really well. I think the characters are a lot of fun. I think the music is great. I think it's so unique. I know it's based on a book, but I think it's still a unique film. Voice casting is great. I just it's so out there. So James and the Giant Peach will be my next nomination.
Chris, what do you say about James and the Giant Peach?
It is a film I know people love. I think it's good, but not great. I think we watched it from this year, brought it down a little bit. I mean, we watched it continuously, now we eat a good probably place at time in the film. And I think my individual is great. It's not my favorite one adult adaptation. It's stuff I prefer that. I'm gonna give it a slight no. You have to understand, but it's one of my least favorite products so far.
Dylan, what do you say about James and the Giant Peach?
It's been so long since I've seen it, so I'd probably give it a no for that reason. But I do remember liking it a lot as a kid. Especially the animation, like just going back and watching some scenes now, it's like the animation was very, very impressive for the time, especially like the actual Peach itself, the gooiness of it is very tangible. But I remember also being a little freaked out by it as a kid, so it also hits that spooky check mark that Coraline does too. So I do like it for those reasons, but it's been so long, I'd have to say no.
Yeah, I like James and the Giant Peach. For the longest time, I thought this was directed by Tim Burton. Until I realised it was the guy who did Nightmare Before Christmas.
Henry Selick.
But then that was only because for that same reason, for the longest time, before Night Before Christmas was directed by Tim Burton. But anyway, I mean, it's not going to make the list, but I would have given it a slight yes. And it's another Roald Dahl book.
Yeah.
But Chris, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Struggling between three young adult movies here. I'll leave that to you guys which one you might have hit. The one about someone dying, the one about alcoholism, or the one about someone who is secretly gay. Which one would you guys rather hear me?
Just go if you have. Don't worry about what movie.
Alright. I'm going to bring up maybe the one that not a lot of people think I think is an excellent movie. I don't think it's spectacular now. This is with Mario Teller and Shirley Woodley. This is a film I think not a lot of people have checked out, but I think to all the people that say Mario Teller not good at it, usually say go check this movie out. And he is really good in this film, and his relationship between him and Shirley Woodley is really good. I think as someone who is coming from family alcoholic, this is one coming age movie that hit me on one. I remember seeing this theater and the scene where he tells the truth to his boss about him drinking, and he said, I'm not drinking 2 a.m., so he had to find me as a thing that hit me hard because I come from family who is alcoholic and deal with drugs. Kyle Chandler is a great asshole dad in the movie. Don't classic great. I like the whole for ending later on. One of the things I prefer compared to the book, the correct ending. But this is something I think some people should check out. I understand it was like no. This is a young adult movie that I really do like. I love Stretchy. I think he went on to do the end of Detroit, another movie I do love. But yeah, it's spectacular now.
Dylan, what do you say about the spectacular now?
I really, really enjoy this movie. I saw it for the first time a few years ago. Didn't know anything about it. Was very, very impressed. I think just again in terms of the list I have, there's just so many other movies that I just revere a little bit more. And I know there's only one spot left, so like this is where it gets really, really dicey. So I'm gonna say a slight no, even though I do think if people are watching this and haven't seen it, go check it out because it is a really good movie, and I don't think enough people talk about it. But I would say no for this list.
I mean, it's definitely not making the list because I've never seen it. Jake, what do you say?
I haven't seen it either.
Go check it out.
Dylan, we go to you.
Oh wow, I didn't think it would come back to me again, but uh, I'm gonna go with one that came up on the last time I was on Rankum for the Disney live action list. And this is a series that I also read growing up that I really thought they did a beautiful job adapting, and that is the Chronicles of Narnia: The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I think it is beautifully done, set wise, costume wise. The visual effects I think hold up very well with the lion. Great voice cast, or the small voice cast members that there are, like Liam Neeson. I think it just captures the spirit of the book very well to where it's like a very spot on adaptation, but it doesn't feel too long like some very devoted adaptations do. They make the right cuts to where you don't think you miss anything. It feels complete and just really, really memorable characters. I wish the other movies after that were as good, but that movie is really, really good for kids. It's like a very good, like kind of Lord of the Rings esque like battle type movie that like gets dark at times, but it doesn't cross that line to where kids like when I saw it, I was a kid. I was like 7 years old when it came out, and I really enjoyed it then. And I think it's like a good introduction to those types of movies, like the Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings esque movies. So yeah, I Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, I mean, like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were actually good friends and sort of helped each other. The bizarre part of the same sort of club, which is why I think both of these movies seem really, or books, seem really similar. But yeah, we couldn't get one movie for New Zealand. Let's try and get the other, another one. The Chronicles of Narnia: Lion, Witch, the Wardrobe is a great movie. This is an easy yes for me. Yeah, there's not much more I can say about this. I have once again that we didn't stay on the last episode. On last time we talked about this, Jacob, what do you say about Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe?
Well, get your whiteboards ready because it's a yes from me because there were this was on my list. There were like 4 other movies out like competing for number 12, and this was one of them. And I'm definitely okay. Like if any of those 4 made the list, I would be okay with it. And this is definitely one of them. I think the performances in it are fantastic. I love the action. I love, James McAvoy as Mr. Tumnus. I think he's a really, really good character. I think it's great. Definitely deserves to be the 12th movie on the list. So.
But with that, Lion, Witch, Wardrobe does make this list. First, what do you say about it?
Yeah, honestly, at this point, probably would have said yes because like there's so much movie to bring up at the same time. I do love this movie to death. I can't even see me. I do like Prince Caspian a lot too, but I love Flying Witches Wardrobe. I think they did a great movie. It's done to technically almost close it, so young adult is kind of transit between Sandra Bullock and young adult because it is a coming of age film. But yeah, love this film.
But yeah, we're going to go talk about some honorable mentions. For me, like some of the honorable mentions I had Oliver, based on Oliver Twist. One after what we talked about with when How to Train Dragon 2 come up, like How to Train Dragon 1 is the one I would have gone with. The personal history of David Copperfield, the Dev Patel
Yeah.
came out recently, is great. My personal favorite Rodell movie is the BFG, but I didn't bring that because I didn't think how that would go.
No.
Ella Enchanted, Inkart, Stardust, so just a few of them. And I don't know if anyone else is going to bring this up, but The Borrowers is another one that I actually did enjoy growing up. Jacob, what honorable mentions did you have?
Well, according to the list on Wikipedia that I found, because I didn't know most of these movies were based off books, I had Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think it's really great.
Yep.
Rise of the Guardians is fantastic. Jumanji, the original. What else? I do enjoy the BFG as well. The Great Mouse Detective, based off Basil of Baker Street or whatever. Let's see what else. The 1998 Doctor Dolittle, I think, is really fun. We brought it up before the show started, but Ben-Hur, I think, it was on the list, and I think it's a really fantastic movie. But never really thought kids when I saw it. What else? The Jungle Book. Both versions. I think The Jungle Book might be the best of the live action remakes. I think the voice cast in that is fantastic. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
Chris, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Be kind of typical to think would have watched Tango, like freaking Aladdin, like a bunch of them over there. Some that I surprised with based off it. Homeward Bound and Incredible Journey do have a soft spot on because as a Hugh Jackman, I do love that movie. Really another underrated comedic movie not a lot of people have seen, Me, Ella, and the Dying Girl, where it's a beautiful, like, heartbreaking movie. The Monster Call, the Lane Nathan one with the talking tree, really tough movie to watch. Like to be down. I actually do like the first movie I watched. I had it on the left, like Love Simon, but the other one I kind of made a big mention toward. I did love Love Simon a lot. I think the one I went back to make sure it was a young adult book. I do love that film. I think it's better than the book a little bit. The hate you give with Amanda Steinfeld and a bunch of other people. I think that is a powerful movie itself. Holds. Like, I think I'm on there's a bunch of good movies. Like, it's a tough list to make. Fine.
And Dylan, what honorable mentions did you have?
Yeah, like you, Malcolm, I did have the first How to Train Your Dragon, and that would have been the next one I brought up if it came back around. I had the first Paddington, Stuart Little, the M. Night Shyamalan classic, The Little Prince, which I really enjoyed on Netflix, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Zathura, one of Jon Favreau's earlier films, same author as Polar Express, which I did not put on there because that movie freaks me out. And then Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, great Jim Carrey performance. I'm glad we brought up The Grinch, but another great Jim Carrey performance.
To add quickly, I kind of jokey pleasure animated one. I like the third party Richard Gentleman film, and that based off of.
I mean, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last one I will sort of bring up because no one else said them. Hell's Moving Castle is from Ghibli, is one that I did not forgot was based on a book after researching this, and the best version of Peter Pan is 2003's live action Peter Pan.
Thank you.
100%.
It's great.
Okay, Rich.
I wish I
could.
But in the chat we've got like Brian says Charlotte's Web, Alice in Wonderland, Spider Chronicles, The Grinch, Cat in the Hat, Stuart Little. I have no idea which version of Charlotte's Web and Alice in Wonderland he's talking about.
The animated one, hopefully for both.
I mean, the live action of Charlotte's Web is not bad. But anyway, Jacob, what do you have for 12? You're muted, by the way. He says Nadia, he's muted. I don't know if you realise he's muted. Chris.
I did not realize that.
Outside the chat to video watch, like I had to tell which one I like, but I don't love.
I went with Princess Bride.
So, straight off the bat, we go we're straight off the bat. We're going for the chat because I put Shrek. So the first one I see in the comments between Shrek, Wizard of Oz, Narnia, or Princess Bride is going to be the one that's going to be at 12.
It's hard to make a child. There's too many good movies.
Unbelievable.
Really?
And Stephen got in first, and it is going to be Shrek.
All right. Well, I'm glad it was actually Steven and not Brian.
But we move over to 11. As I make the banner because Chris, what do you have for 11?
I'm not changing it. I love this. I like this film a lot, but I have issues with it.
Dylan, what do you have?
Sticking with it, Princess Bride.
That hair's trapped that long.
I haven't written it down because I haven't changed my whiteboard from Shrek. I would actually go to the Princess Bride. Jacob.
I stuck with Narnia, and now my heart is sad.
My heart is sad too.
As I said, I'm not that high in the Princess Bride. Like, I mean, as I said, I may put it on the list because Garth. I didn't say I was going to rate it high for Garth. But next up we move on to 10. Dylan, what do you have at 10?
Only because this list is stacked. Mary Poppins. I know there's so many good ones. Sorry,
I
Chris.
put Narnia. Jacob.
Thank you, Narnia.
We are not picking Mary Poppins at 10. Oh, they got me talked that bully. Yeah. You know what? I don't need to change. No, we already put it on here, so never mind.
Alright, but for me, once again, this list is stacked. At 9, I have Beauty and the Beast. Jacob.
I went Mrs. Doubtfire.
Chris.
Mary Poppins, 4-way tie.
Yeah. So, chat, you've got Mary Poppins, Narnia, Mrs. Doubtfire.
No, not Narnia.
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, Mrs. Doubtfire, Mary Poppins. What was the fourth one again?
Wizard
of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
There wasn't a fourth one. No, that was it. It's just those three.
Once again, I'll go to the chat. The first one I see put something in there. There's one that decides what comes in at 9th.
Wow.
And once again, it's Beauty and the Beast, Mary Poppins, Wizard of Oz, and Mrs. Doubtfire. And the first one that I saw is Stephen, and it is going to be Beauty and the Beast.
What the hell?
Well, I mean, I don't hate that.
Yeah, it's a stacked list. Like anything after 10, it's really any of these could be number one. I mean,
anything after 16.
I mean, it's not like we've got Cat in the Hat on this list,
right?
It's gotta be like the Suicide Squad all weekend and can't have it on.
Chris, you might not have to erase your board at all.
But Chris, what do you have?
The Wizard of Oz.
Dylan.
Yeah. Just to be different, I went with Willy Wonka.
I also went Willy Wonka.
No,
Jacob.
I hate this show. Mrs. Doubtfire. That's my number one, you guys. My number one.
I'm sorry.
Are you though?
Oh yeah. And no, I didn't change mine up. Fuck it. Hopefully you guys agree with me on this one. Actually, this shouldn't be that high. You want to write it down. You guys managed to finally convince me to change my answers, so definitely happy.
Yeah, no, I accidentally did something that shut down all my windows of doing StreamYard in.
Oh, wow.
I must have hit a hotkey or something. Or Jacob hacked my server.
Yeah, remember number 8 was Mrs. Doubtfire.
No, it's why I keep paper records. Chris, what do you have for 7?
Okay, I changed my answer. I changed it my least favorite out of the series, and I think it's a good movie, but not should it be higher than all of the rest. Harry Potter's philosophy.
Dylan, what do you have?
I'll keep going with the Mary Poppins. I know it's unpopular, but
I also have Philosopher's Stone.
I'll be in agreement.
Jacob.
Maybe I'm the one that's not going to erase my board for a while because I still have Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, you happy?
I'm not mad at Harry Potter at 7, though. I think it's a good placement.
Yeah, if we had another like further aspect something else, I'd probably put it high. I've never thought I'd very big way.
Dylan, what do you have for 6?
I decided to switch it up again because I know I'm in the minority for my other picks. So I'm gonna go with the one that's like kind of the least classic of all these, and I went with Hugo.
I went for Roger Rabbit. Jacob.
Surprise, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Surprise!
Oh, finally, I can switch my board.
I love Mr. Doubtfire, but I'm like, I can't do it.
Mrs. Doubtfire was my number 1.
Yeah, now you know how it feels.
I haven't got rid of my number 1 yet, so.
Oh, what's left?
Just to recap what's left, we've got Paddington 2, Mary Poppins, Hugo, Wizard of Oz, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Anyway, it had a good one until now.
Oh.
Steven, it's Philosopher's Stone. You Americans are weird.
Hey, I'm American here.
Hey, anyone that calls it Sorcerer's Stone, I'm going to say that.
I have a book that says otherwise.
Anyway, I've still got Roger Rabbit. Jacob.
I went Paddington 2.
Hugo, we are not funny Paddington 2.
Hugo.
Hugo is going to be at 5.
I mean, you can't use the recency reasoning and then put
That is a fair point. I am a little hypocritical in that sense. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, I mean, honestly, with these top 5, you could put them in any order and I'd be happy.
I agree.
Yeah. But Dylan, what do you have for 4?
I'll do it one more time, Mary Poppins, and after this I might just stop because
I went for Roger Rabbit still. Jacob.
Paddington 2.
Okay, I agree.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit is going to be 4.
What are we down to?
Paddington 2, Mary Poppins, and The Wizard of Oz is left.
All right, you guys know what the top two should be.
No.
I'm sending it to you.
We're going to tiebreaker.
Jacob, what do you have at 3?
Paddington 2. I've not erased my board.
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
Unbelievable. You guys are ridiculous. Mary Poppins.
Wow.
Paddington 2 over Mary Poppins. Are you kidding me? Talk about recency. I'm just going to leave this up there.
But yeah,
Actually, I'm not leaving it up there because we're voting for number 1.
yes. But yeah, Chris, what do you have for number 1? Even if I have to ask.
Like, movie that made me smile every time I think of it. Paddington 2.
Dylan.
I can't believe my whole argument for Hugo was, it's too recent, but it's my favorite movie of the last 5 years. I got to go with it, Paddington 2.
I've seen this probably about 15 times since it's come out. Paddington 2. Jacob, what did you have?
It's not important anymore.
But with that concludes the list for this week.
Honestly, you guys would have been thought I would have put Mary Poppins on number 2 and would have got 3.
But with that being said, this is the list that we had for movies based on kids' books. At number 12, we got The First Shrek. At 11, we got The Princess Bride. At 10, we got Narnia, The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. At 9, we got Beauty and the Beast. At 8, we got Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. At 7, we got Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. At 6, we got Mrs. Doubtfire. At 5, we got Hugo. At 4, we got Who Framed Roger Rabbit. At 3, we got Mary Poppins. At 2, we got The Wizard of Oz. And at number 1, we got the great Schmodown team of the Paddington 2. Yeah, I mean, it shocked me too when I was making my list, but like I do love Paddington 2 over Wizard of Oz just slightly because on my personal list, Wizard of Oz is number 3, Paddington 2 is 2, ironically enough. But anyway, with that being said, Jacob, where can people find you online?
You can just search my name on Facebook. I'm there. I've got some ideas about a channel I want to start up, but it's still in the very early creative process. So, but yeah, I mean, just look me up on Facebook, and we can talk movies and why this list is wrong.
Jacob's new show, Why Rankham's List is Wrong. But, Chris, we can find you online.
Anybody else that find your favorite YouTube anywhere? I got a few things coming up. I just posted my review of Tick Boom. If you want to see what's of it, go check out. You have not seen the movie Kid Birthday. And you're not Trick Kathy, ask me why I love Paddington 2. No Trick Daddy kill me. No, yeah, been putting Paddington on.
Dylan, we can people find you online.
You can find me at my channel, the Dill Pickle Movie Network. That's Dill as in my name, not the spice. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm sorry, things got a little heated at the end, but it's a good list, and like really any of these 12 could be a number 1 pick. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
I mean, it wouldn't be an episode of Rankin if it doesn't get heated.
Right.
I feel like it gets heated on quite a lot of these. But with that being said, You can find me over on Take 3. I have the new poll up for what you want next week's topic to be. Up there. Late night Take 3 will be on tomorrow. We'll be talking about all of the Disney Plus news that got revealed yesterday. And you can also find me over on Full Metal hosting trivia matches. Full Metal Classic is on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern. And Full Metal Random will be happening next week as well. It's going to be on Twilight, and it's going to have Kevin Poss taking on Haley, taking on taking on Danny, and also taking on Kevin's wife. As in this match. So they got married and they decided to have a trivia match against each other. And you could also find me over on the Movie Hero network this Monday for where we decide Brian Dusbum's favourite movie.
I will be there as well.
But until next time, just keep listening shit. As it's an awkward silence before.
Yeah, but list it correctly.
Yeah, don't put Shrek at 12.